Mpele. So how we're going to run this is that the minister is going to have some opening remarks, and then thereafter we're going to have a detailed presentation by the Chief Inspector of Mines, Mr. David Msiza. And immediately after him, then we're going to have an opportunity for you to ask some clarity-seeking questions. At this moment, I'm going to call upon the minister to come and give his presentation. Over to you, Minister.
Good afternoon to all of us. Let me greet the Deputy Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. It's still confusing as we still call ourselves DMRE. We're actually DMPR. That's who we are. DG, Diego Bumbele. I know you still like the broader scope. The DMRE, no, it's DMPR. Okay. The Chief Inspector of Mines, David Msiza, leadership of organized business in general, particularly the Mineral Council, South Africa, and leadership of organized labor, AMCU, NUM, NUMSA, Solidarity, and UWASA. Professional associations, AMSA, SAMSCA, SAIMM, representative of Mineral and Safety Council, members of the media present here. The first thing is to express our gratitude for you joining us today when we officially release the 2024 Occupational Health and Safety Statistics of the South African mining industry. Just 2 days ago, that was 21st January, we're commemorating 65th anniversary of the Coalbrook disaster, which killed 435 mine workers in one disaster. That was in 1960. 26 years ago, in 1986, 177 mine workers lost their life during the Kinross disaster, while further 104 mine workers perished during the Valreefs mining disaster. We can give you a long list of these disasters, and all of them reflect the character of the mining industry, which is quite a dangerous occupation if you are a mine worker. We have just concluded a meeting with our social partners that are represented here, during which we assessed the progress made on occupational health and safety in South Africa mining industry during 2024 calendar year. The statistics that will be released will actually show that significant strides are being made in the industry in improving the state of health and safety in our mines. But the Chief Inspector of Mines is going to make a presentation which breaks down all these numbers. But what we must always remember, we're not just talking about numbers, we're talking about human lives. When we say this number of fatalities, it means it's the number of human beings who lost their lives. So that is quite important. So our emphasis on the fact that our gathering today is not just an event in our calendar, but a demonstration of our untiring commitment of safeguarding health and safety of every mine worker. A mine worker must go to work and come back alive. A mine worker must go underground healthy and come back healthy. The health and safety of mine workers remains the center of the work we do in government, just as it remains central to long-term sustainability of the mining industry. A safer workplace is a productive workplace. And this was rubbed into our head over and over, that a safer place is a productive workplace. Hence, they continue to strengthen the enforcement provisions, the reinforce offences and penalties, and remove ambiguity by amending certain definitions and expressions in the Mining Safety Act, and hereby empower South African mining to attain the goal of zero harm. That is the ultimate goal, that there must be zero harm in the mining industry. We are therefore encouraged that our effort continue to show sustainable downward trend in occupational diseases, in injuries, and in fatalities. Whereas the Chief Inspector of Mines will give you detailed presentation of our performance during the period under review, allow me to take this opportunity to briefly reflect on some of the significant milestones we have recorded during the period under review. South African mining industry recorded 42 fatalities in the year 2024, and marking the lowest ever number of fatalities in the history of mining in South Africa. This represents 24% improvement year on year compared to 2023, where we had 55 fatalities in the mining industry. Remember, in 2022, we had 49. That was the lowest ever recorded number. We've improved that number. It's now 42. There were no disaster-type accidents reported in 2024 compared to one disaster in 2023. And everything we call a disaster in mining is when one accident takes lives of 5 and more workers. We describe that as a disaster. In 2024, there was no such an accident which would define as a disaster. This record is a result of concerted effort by all parties. That's why it is important to always appreciate the fact that it is the companies and employers, it is the workers who are critical in actually making sure that the accidents are reduced. I always explain this to people that mine workers experience solidarity in practical terms because the life of the next mine worker depends on the alertness of the other mine worker. Only in mining that is a reality of life. The fatalities of a commodity, gold recorded 11 fatalities compared to 20 in 2023. In platinum, 18 were recorded compared to 22 in 2023. 6 fatalities in the coal sector compared to 7 in 2023, which is a year-on-year 14% decrease. 6 fatalities of the category of other mines compared to 6 in 2023, showing no improvement year-on-year. This category of other mines include diamonds, chrome, copper, zinc, sand, lime, granite, manganese, nickel, and bricks. That's what is covered there. And Adam Caesar is going to be giving you a proper analysis of all these, ranging from occupational injuries, occupational diseases. He will also talk to women in mining. Remember, it's one subject that I like talking about because the employment of women in mining was a result of the 1987 strike, where it was actually legislated that women could work in the mines. And today, more than 72,000 mine workers are female. So we see that as progress, and the analysis of the health and safety for women is particularly important to pay attention to it specifically because they are different from all of us. Illegal mining. As we release these statistics, we are conscious of the severity of illegal mining that is in South African mining industry. Our view on this matter has not changed. We remain convinced that illegal mining is not a mining activity, but a criminal activity. And it is a war on the economy. There can be no two ways about it. It is criminals attacking the economy. Precious metals illicit trade is estimated in 2024 to about 60 billion. That 60 billion is a leakage on the value of the economy of the country. It's a serious criminal activity. And it is quite important, therefore, that we focus on this matter and we actually ultimately break these syndicates that steal gold. It doesn't end up underground. So we support Valam Koti as a program of the police. Yeah. Before I sit down, let me just comment on the jet fuel supply, which was publicly announced over the last week. And somebody from AXA, I wanted to say, Department of Mineral and Petroleum should pay attention to this issue. And our view was that is correct. But the reality of the matter, for example, a government-owned Petro SA, which is actually supplying jet fuel, was never given access to actual major airports. It is only supplying jet fuel in two small airports, that is East London and George. The others, the department and AXA have not given us the right to supply in those major. But we can report confidently that at this point in time, we are actually contributing in addressing that, and fuel is particularly transported from the coast to International OR Tambo Airport. So that problem is being attended to, but I'm raising the point that it's easy to point fingers, but if you don't create an enabling space for parties to play, you'll see that when there's a crisis. So the fact that Petrosa is not allowed to bring jet fuel to major airports should not be made an excuse when there is a crisis. I want to leave at that and allow the Chief Inspector of Mines. Is the only person who's not called Deputy Director General. We don't call him Deputy Director General. We call him the Chief Inspector of Mines. It's quite distinct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I'd also like to start off with acknowledgements, to acknowledge our Minister and our Deputy Minister, the DG, who's also with us, and special advisors, the principals from the sector, from organized business, organized labor. We have AMCU here, we have NUM, we have NUMSA, we have Solidarity, we also have UASA. In organized business, we have Minerals Council. We also have SAMDA joining us for today. So I also like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues from the department who are here, including the principal inspectors and the colleagues that I work with in head office. I mean, without us working together with the sector, will not really be promoting the health and safety effectively. The media, I think it's very, very important that we acknowledge your presence, because without you, we can also promote the work that we do. So my presentation, as Minister has indicated, will be mainly on the performance of the health and on health and safety by the sector for the period 2023-2024. In terms of maybe I should be helped here in terms of the movement. My apologies for that. The presentation outline is as follows. I'll introduce the presentation, and then we go through, we'll start off with the mine employees. As the Minister we are dealing with, as indicated, we are dealing with human lives. It's very important for us to focus on what are the numbers of the mine workers in the sector, including women in mining that the ministers referred to. Then we look at the trends in terms of health and safety on what we call the lag indicators, and we'll come up with the work that we've been doing, working together with the sector on promoting and ensuring compliance in the sector. That is very important for us because it's more proactive than the lag indicators that I've referred to. I'll also touch on the recent Mine Health and Safety Tripartite Summit that we had in October last year, working together with all the stakeholders on what more can we do on making sure that we achieve that goal of zero harm that we have committed ourselves to. And then I'll conclude the presentation. As a department, we continuously work together with the mining sector, and ministers clearly indicated that, you know, some people will say no, but it's Section 54 that leads to improvement on fatalities. Yes, the work that we do as a department is very important, but we believe that the sustainable and significant improvement that we've seen in the sector is as a result of us working together with all the stakeholders, including organized labor and including organized business and other stakeholders that are there. And we strongly believe that is that. So what we have done over time as this collective is that we've strived to look for opportunities to further improve the goal of zero harm. So in the past, what broadly we used to focus on is generally technical related matters that affect health and safety. So we look at the softer issues as well, the culture, for instance, in the sector. The changes in the sector that also affect the business of doing mining, and ultimately that will affect the health and safety of the mine worker. So we are diving deep into the stats that we collect, and we are also looking at the macro and micro factors that affect the business and how we can assist us in achieving that goal of zero harm. And we believe by doing that, it has led us to the milestones that the minister has referred to, of last year being the safest year on record. As I indicated, we dissect, also we look at the trends in terms of mine employees, because really it's about human beings. In terms of the 2023 stats, you'll see that the sector employed almost 480,000 mine workers. And then mainly it was with the platinum group metals, the coal, and the gold mines, as indicated on the slide. Now, the other factor that we are picking up as well is that 42% of the total workforce are contractors. Why I'm highlighting that is that in the past there's been concerns that some contractors, you know, they're not complying with the law. So it's very important for us to come up with appropriate measures to deal with it, of which we are working together with the sector to look at that. But just to break down the numbers there, about 183,000 workers are employed in the PGM sector, followed by the coal sector, about 96,000, and the gold sector, about 94,000 people employed. Now, most of a significant number of contractors are employed in the coal sector, as indicated there, and the iron, the chrome, and the diamonds and the manganese sectors as well. Some of the mines, why there's a lot of contractors there compared to the PGMs as well, is because some of the PGMs are doing specialty work. However, there are contractors who are doing work in the sector. So it's very important that we also focus on those. Minister referred to women in mining. There's currently about 76,000 women employed in the sector. That is about 16% of the overall figure that I've referred to the previous slide. Approximately 31% of the total female employees are on contract. And last year we had what we call the Women in Mining in Daba, where about 650 delegates from the mining sector came, and we met with them in August to understand what are the challenges that are still out there? And Minister will say that one of the biggest things that the sector has done is transformation as well. We've seen a significant number of women being employed. In 2002, when the MPRD was introduced, there were about 11,000 women employed. Now they are about 76,000. But there are health and safety issues and GBF issues that we are dealing with in the sector. Now, in that indaba that I've referred to, some of the challenges that the women have indicated was that, look, some of the mines, they deliberately put us on contract so that when we get pregnant, then we get dismissed, so to speak. You know, there's other issues that they've raised, including the PPEs, the issues of GBVF that I've referred to, and also the issue of ablution facilities and change houses issues. So at that indaba, we've considered all of those concerns that we have raised by the women, and we have come up with a clear action plan and timelines and how we can really improve on that. And furthermore, as a department, we've also issued guidelines on PPE and a guidance note on gender-based violence, which is aligned to the national one as well, to try and improve on those challenges that they've referred to. Now, coming to occupational health, if you look in the last 10 years, there's been a significant improvement in terms of occupational diseases reported by the sector. The highest on the slide you'll see was reported in the last 10 years in 2014 of about 6,600 or 6,577 to be exact. And you will see, as I indicated, there's been a significant reduction thereafter. Year on year, there's been a 17% improvement. In fact, 2023, it has been the lowest on record. And just to clarify why we are referring to 2023 figures is because on how the mines report occupational health figures, we've agreed that they'll have to report to us in terms of what we call the annual medical reports. And that is being reported in the fiscal period. So, but the indication is the same anyway. We see a downward trend in terms of the diseases as highlighted in the screen. Similarly, with silicosis, you see a similar downward trend over the last 10 years. You'll see in blue, most of those diseases were with the gold mines. Mainly it's because that's where you find most of the silica dust. You find it in the gold mines. That's why you have that. Now, for those in yellow, or indicated in yellow there, that's platinum group metals. Why you also get some in the platinum group metals is because of the mining methods in the gold mines are the same as in terms of the PGM. So you'll find that sometimes the mine employees migrate from the gold mines to the PGM sector. So that's why the cases are there. So I think what is also encouraging with this as well, that broadly we see a significant improvement on silicosis as well. Similarly, we see an improvement on pulmonary TB. Pulmonary TB is occupational related TB, which comes about by exposure to dust. So we've seen a significant improvement including on gold, and also on gold there was a slight regression, but we've seen mainly with the PGMs, the coal, and as well. You'll see that the diamond sector has regressed by 333%. Why is that? As a department, we have been promoting for the mines to do better screening in terms of occupational health issues. And in fact, health, as a matter of fact, they must do better screening in terms of medical surveillance. So those figures, they are as a result of that. But for us, what is encouraging is that the trends are really coming down. You know, Minister has indicated that these are the numbers. There's human beings behind them. And one thing that we've been saying to the sector as well is that for us to have a significant and progressive improvement, it's important that we limit or we eliminate overexposures, including on dust as well. It's very important for us to do that. So I think there are programs that we've worked together with the sector to improve on that. On noise, similarly, we've seen improvement in terms of noise. In terms of the diseases, there's been a 21% improvement as indicated there, mainly in the gold sector, 19%, the PGM sector, 17%, the coal sector, 39%, the diamond sector, 57%, and the other mines by 35%. So the principle, the policy that we've agreed upon at the last summit that I've referred to is that prevention is obviously better than cure. So the policy is that we must buy quiet. As you buy quieter equipment, then it will also assist us in reducing noise overexposures. With coal as well, coal workers' pneumoconiosis comes about through exposure to coal dust. We've also seen a significant reduction as indicated there. Now, you will see between the last 2 years, 22 and 23, it's shot up. That came out, there were 73 fatalities that not fatalities, my apology, diseases that we have revealed in one of the mines in KZN that they didn't report previously. And that's why there's an abnormality there. And with now public health issues, as a sector, through the Mineral Health Safety Council and the summits that we held in the past, we've acknowledged that TB is a public health matter. However, it's important for us to look at the complete well-being of a mine worker if we want to achieve that goal of zero harm. So one of the things that we've started at that time looking at is the issue of TB. In fact, at that time, they were saying that we are the mouth of TB, and we spread TB to the other countries, mainly the SADC countries. So we came up with programs that we've included in our milestones, and since that time, there's also been significant improvement. Now, on that slide, you will see that there's been a 97% of employees that have been screened for TB. At that time, we've adopted a 90-90-90 principle. Now it's a 95-95-95 principle, which is counseling, screening, and treatment. So we've committed that we are going to maintain that principle. And in fact, if you see that on the slide, we've surpassed that with 100% of employees that are on treatment. 47% of those are co-infected with HIV, and the highest rates of the TB, it was 957 during 2014. The lowest was 200 in 2023. In fact, now that figure is trending below the national average. In the past, the TB rates were higher than the national average. So I think it's now trending below that. I think it's commendable that the work that has been done by the sector, but we have not yet arrived. On HIV, we've also agreed that we must come up with programs on HIV and AIDS. In 2014, in fact 2015, the rate of positive cases were about 11.5. It has come down to about 4.2. And we believe that is the programs that we've put and we've been implementing together with the sector that has led to that. Now, in terms of occupational safety, starting off with fatalities, last year, as the minister indicated, was had the lowest fatality on record that the minister has referred to. That slide really shows the trends over the last 20 years, so to speak. You can clearly see that the top line is the total fatalities. You see that there's been a significant improvement. The dotted red line is the gold sector as well. You can clearly see there's been a significant improvement. The gray one is the PGMs, or the platinum group metals, followed by the orange one, which is the coal, and my apology, the coal is the green one, and the others is the orange one. So you can clearly see that there's been also significant improvement in terms of fatalities. So overall, last year there's been a 24% improvement in terms of fatalities, mainly with the gold sector. Minister has touched on that, of 45%, the coal sector of 14%, the platinum sector of 14%, the other remain the same. Now, we normally also not only look at absolute numbers, we also look at rates. Why it's important is because of those employee figures that I've shown you, because it's about people, and we must compare apples with apples, you know. So you might say probably the gold is better than, in terms of absolute numbers, the platinum sector, but if you convert it to rates, you'll find out that the PGM perform much better because they have much more employees. So just to give you an example in terms of the rates, in 2003, we've resolved as a sector to compare ourselves with the best performing countries in the world on health and safety. Even though we have the most deepest complex mines in the world, we've agreed that we must look out there which are the best performing countries. At that time, it was Australia, Canada, and the USA. So we've said, look, let's compare ourselves because our goal is zero harm. At that time, the fatality rate was 0.32. Now it has come down to about 0.4, 0.05. So I think there's been a significant improvement there. In fact, we are now comparing favorably with those countries that I've referred to. In terms of the major contributors of fatalities, it's mainly historically has been fall of ground. It has been transport and mining. Transport and mining include trackless mobile machines, in other words, LDVs, any machine that have tires, is TMMs, and RBEs. RBEs is rail-bound equipment. Rail-bound equipment is those that have tracks. There's also scrapers and winches that are being used mainly in the hard rock mines, gold and platinum mines. Those are TMMs. And we have general type of accidents. General types of accidents is falling from heights, slip and fall, material handling, and so forth. So those has been historically our major causes of the fatalities. But you can clearly see that there's been a downward trend also on all of them that I've referred to. Just to make an example, in 2004, there's been 96 fall of ground fatalities reported. Last year, there's been 13 as indicated on that slide. In fact, it's 11. So and so forth with the other slides. Minister spoke about disasters at length. In fact, at one stage, every month we used to experience a disaster that the minister has referred to. But now, before the Impala disaster, we went for almost 5 years without it. So last year we didn't have a disaster. So this slide shows for the last almost 30 years the trends in terms of the disasters. I think it's encouraging that the disasters also have come down significantly, but we have not yet arrived. Similarly with injuries, I won't go into detail, but we've seen a 16% reduction overall in terms of the injuries that are reported by the sector, as indicated on the slide. I indicated to you earlier that we strive as a sector, as a collective, to look for opportunities using the information that presents to ourselves on how to further improve our health. So one of the things that we've been looking at is the trends on the accidents. At what time are they happening every day? So we just want to tell at what time are they happening. So if you look at that slide, it shows that most of the accidents they are happening between 10 and 12 o'clock during the day. That's what it says. Yes, you can clearly see it's a range, but the highest are between 10 and 12. Our concern is that that's the time where most of the supervisors are there, some of the managers are there, they are doing their work there. So this, what it says to us is, what can we do to influence this? Some people will say maybe it's an issue of diet, because some of the mine workers, they start early working as well, and maybe that causes that. And the other various factors, because most of the employees are working day shift, probably it's that. So I think we will sit down with the sector through the Mine Health and Safety Council and also look at these trends and to say what more can we do to improve on that. The next slide really shows where do they happen at the mine. So most of the accidents, they happen at the face area, especially with the hard rock mines. We call them stopes. That's where they happen. Most of the accidents, followed by the crosscuts and draw points. Crosscuts and developments are part of the development underground in the hard rock mines. The raises as well are part of developments in the hard rock mines. The haulages as well, and open cast mines. We've seen there's a significant number of accidents happening in the open cast. Board and pillar mines, especially where the coal mines that use continuous miners, what we call the CMs that cut with CMs. We see a number of accidents happening there. And lastly, the center galleys as well is part of a development of underground of a hard rock mine as well. So we looking at this information, so we're going to further dissect it and saying what really are the underlying causes or the root causes, and what more can we do to improve on that. I've shown you the lag, what you call the lag indicators, but we've agreed as a sector that we must look at what we call the HPIs. HPIs are high potential incidents, in other words, or something that did not lead to an accident, but if it was not dealt with, it could have led to a serious accident. We call them HPIs. So in our space, in terms of promotion, we engage with the sector, but we do monitor mines in terms of inspections and audits. And I think for the 2023 period, we've done 8,865 inspections and audits as indicated there. And the Section 54 and 55 instructions, for those who don't know, Section 54 and 55 instructions are a requirement in the Mineral Health and Safety Act. 54, it gives the powers to inspector that if they say they go and observe serious transgressions that might lead to loss of life, they can issue a 54. A 55, yes, it's a serious, but it might not lead to a loss of life. Now, overall, there have been about 7,000, Section 54 or 55 were issued to about 7,000 transgressions. It's good that we've revealed these are transgressions as a department, but our worry is the magnitude of the transgressions. So, in other words, if we have not revealed them, even you can 10%, 20% of them, they might have led to a serious accident, including injuries and occupational health related matters. So I think it's something that we've agreed as a sector that it's important. Yes, let's look at the lag indicators that I've referred to, but it's important to also to focus more on the HPIs, or what we call is the lead indicators as well, to prevent what I've also referred to. At the high level, some of the transgressions, and they speak to the lag indicators, the causes of accidents and occupational health challenges that refers, is that we've picked up during our inspections is on trackless mobile machinery, rail-bound equipment that I've referred to earlier, and scrapers and winches also. And also the lack of adequate risk assessments. So the law requires that the mine must do a baseline, a continuous, an issue-based risk assessment to prevent harm on the workers. So one of the things that we picked up that in some of the mines this is lacking, and there's a need to improve on that. Also, there are in some of the mines that there's no adequate measures put in place to prevent fall of ground accidents, more specifically regarding support underground, of ensuring that there's adequate support. Also, there inadequate SOPs. We picked them up as the standard operating procedures. And also in some of the mines, there's no proper supervision. And I think it also leads to that time of that, the trends that I've shown you on the time of day when this accident happened. In some of the mines, we've seen that there's lack of adequate legal appointments, including managers, engineers, occupational hygienists, OMPs, surveyors as well. And we believe that they affect health and safety. Conveyor belts as well. Some of them, they don't comply with the provisions of the law. Inadequate emergency preparedness. This is the biggest worry for us because we expect that there should be proper evacuation drills being done. There must be proper SOPs to prevent in a case of an emergency so that all of us are ready. So we've picked up that some of the mines don't have that shafts and winders. You know, the worst thing that can happen to us, as we have noted in the past, is a shaft-related accident. So we've picked up also in the past that in some of the mines there are challenges regarding that. The use of unsafe machinery that lead to accidents that I've referred to, and the proper safety iterations. Now, in terms of the law, it is required that before the workers start working, they must inspect, including with their miner or their supervisor, whether the place is safe and make safe first. And they must declare before they start working that it's safe to work. So we've seen that in some of the mines that this is not done adequately, then it might lead to accident. An issue of ventilation in some of the working places. Now, our sector has been in existence for more than 150 years now, and we have some of the oldest mines in the world, so to speak. So some of the workings are more than 10 kilometers away from the tank shaft, or from the main shaft. So you'll see that that also affects the quality and the quantity of ventilation. So I think it's some of the things that we've also picked up that needs focus on. As I move towards the end, last year from the 16th of October to the 18th, we came together, the sector, to hold what we call the Mine Health and Safety Tripartite Summit. We normally hold it every second year. And the purpose of the summit is to review the performance of health in terms of health and safety in the sector, and what more can we do together to further, that will push us towards that goal of zero harm, right? And then we came up with new milestones, so to speak, where we've agreed we must still focus on the elimination of fatalities, injuries, and occupational diseases. We must now also focus on what we call non-communicable diseases. Before we didn't have this one, but we thought that it's very important that we look at the complete well-being of a mine worker. So this is what we call the lifestyle diseases, including the mental health. We believe that if we focus better on that, it will edge us closer to that goal of zero harm. So we came up with programs on how to deal with it. I spoke to HIV. We'll continue focusing on that. The culture issues, which we call the softer issues as well, that has to do on the leadership visibility in the sector, the risk assessments that I've also referred to, and other pillars that we've identified. It's very important that we focus also on the issues of behavior that speaks to culture. The women in mining, safety, security, and hygiene, and health issues, we've agreed upon that as well for the first time that this is included. And this obviously came from what our colleagues from the sector were saying at the Indawa that I've referred to say it's important for us to focus further on them. We also agreed on the Center of Excellence. We believe that it will also help us in edging us closer to the goal of zero harm. Lastly on that slide, we've agreed that we will come up with an action plan which will monitor the implementation thereof through the Mine Health and Safety Council. And I think that's what we are currently doing. And lastly, as the Minister clearly highlighted, there's been a significant improvement on health and safety in the sector, but we have not arrived. People are still losing their lives, we're still having injuries and diseases. So we'll continuously working together with the sector to improve on safety. I've referred to the issue of change management. We've seen it as a factor that if we don't manage change very well in the sector, it will lead to accidents. In fact, through the Mine Health and Safety Council, we've drafted a guideline that will assist us in having a consistent approach. Technology and leading practice we've identified as well as an opportunity, especially in support of OIR as well, to improve further on health and safety. We've agreed through the Council to implement what we call the proximity devices, the PDS systems. And since we have implemented those since 2022, we've seen a significant reduction in terms of the transport-related accidents where people were run over by the TMM. Lastly, it's on the commitments. We are urging the sector to say we've agreed on those commitments at the summit. So it's very important that they include them or they factor them on the company's health and safety strategies. With that, my principals, thank you very much, and the colleagues for listening, and the media. Thank you, Babu Butelis.
Thank you, Mr. Msiza, and thank you, Minister, for laying the foundation for Mr. Msiza. Members of the media, we have come to a point where you are going to be given an opportunity to ask your questions. But I need to point out that we have representatives from business, we have representatives from organized labor and leadership, from professional associations and the Mine Health and Safety Council. So we have divergent people that you can also pose your questions on, just to get your divergent views on this issue. So by a show of hands, we're going to start this side. I'm not too sure if the mics on our chairs are working. If they're not, please, or I've got an indication that they are working. So we're going to start at the bottom. ENCA, my brother, Katleho, I don't know, on there at the top, I can't see. Okay, you may go, my sister.
Thank you.
Please raise up.
Slinda Namasivane from ENCA. Just for the Minister, in terms of your statement, you said that illegal mining is viewed as a war on the economy. How are you supporting the efforts of Bala Ubodi? Because it seems that we just have many mines that are abandoned. What is supposed to happen once a mine is closed? What responsibility does DMR have to ensure that these mines don't remain open for illegal mining?
Okay. Right. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. My name is Muliba from the Inside Sector. Just a few questions. Minister Gwede Mantashe spoke about how Petronas has not been given, was not being allowed to supply jet fuel to major airports. Will the government now be making moves to start supplying jet fuel to your major airports? And then my second question, Zulinzima Babi has criticized the government for its role in the Balamkoti operation. He's personally threatened to fight for the rights of the workers and hold the government accountable if it's found that the cause of death was starvation. Then my final question, there's a growing narrative here with regards to Western-funded NGOs here, Minister. We saw how they tried bullying South Africa when it came to the coal issue. Do you think that our government is being bullied by these white-owned NGOs who want to, whenever the government wants to do something which is going to economically uplift the workers or uplift the economy of the country, they want to rush and take the government to court? So do you believe that you as the leadership of our country are being bullied by Western-funded NGOs? Those will be my questions for now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Kata Walaboti from the SABC. Sorry. Mine is on legislation. I know over time there have been talks around the tightening of legislation. There have been talks around the amendment of the Occupational Mine Health and Safety Act as to ensure that there's greater responsibilities for mining companies to shoulder when there's an accident on the ground. So where that legislation is concerned, because even at the summit we were told that this legislation would come through for the industry in ensuring that these fatalities will be achieved this zero harm. Another one is on the small scale or artisanal mining legislation. We've been told that this has been in the pipeline for quite some time. The issue of illegal mining right now is a hot topic and is a challenge for the country. The minister is saying that the economy is losing billions. There are syndicates that are operating there, but I know that over time we have said that the solution in terms of just addressing some of the issues around illegal mining would be through legislation and ensuring that you recognize artisanal and small-scale miners. Where that is concerned.
Thank you. We'll get responses. About you, Minister. And the panel.
I normally give difficult questions to officials, and I deal with the simpler ones. Now they say I must answer first. Illegal mining is a criminal activity. I want to put that on record clearly. Somebody was trying to say to me, do something about illegal mining. And I gave them a parallel, and I said, would you give the responsibility of dealing with cash heists to the Minister of Finance? I said, no, because it is a criminal activity, it is dealt with by the police. illegal mining is a criminal activity. It must be dealt with by the police. How do we support Valam Koti? Let me give you a breakdown of how rehabilitation is regulated in South Africa. It is broken into two. There is what we call concurrent rehabilitation, which means an operational mine must do rehabilitation as they operate. That's why you'll find that if you go to the colliery, half the time rehabilitation is not a major issue because collieries mine open cast and they rehabilitate them as they move on. But there's a big chunk of holes which were left by what we call derelict and ownerless mines. Those are mines that were operated under the apartheid where there was no legislation enforcing rehabilitation. And the state is taking responsibility to attend to that. That is what we are doing in terms of calling the holdings. About 800 holdings have been closed thus far because it depends on the allocation of the budget to close those holdings. On the average, we close about 40 holes a year. The total of those holes is 6,100. So they are not belonging to operational mines. They are belonging to mines that are derelict, and those are ownerless mines, and those there's no owner who can be identified. That's why among those holes are asbestos mines, which were closed many years ago, no longer operational, but the state says we will close these holdings, and we're doing that. That is the support we're giving to Operation Valam Koti. And that takes me to the question of General Secretary of SAF for have a safe death and submission. State must take a responsibility. I asked for permission to visit the crime scene in Stilfontein last week. I call it a crime scene today because it is a crime scene. I visited it, and this question was raised, and I answered it simple. I said, if you go to a dangerous place, a mine that is neglected, you go and stay there for three months, and you starve yourself to death, how does that become responsibility of the state? And I said, that is a tendency in the South African public, which must be addressed educationally, that capital own mines, they exploit them, they make money, and when there is a risk, that risk must be offloaded to the state. It cannot be correct. Cannot be correct. If I'm an owner of a mine, I make money, I generate profits, equally I take responsibility. And I always give people example that in my other life when I was a trade unionist, Kinross killed 177 workers in 10 minutes. State was not given the responsibility to deal with that issue. Janko dealt with that issue. Val Reeves had a similar accident, and not the state took the responsibility. Anglo-American took the responsibility. You can go on to Stilfontein, to other mines. You can go to Hlobane, for example, the Hlobane disaster. The owner of the mine took responsibility. Now, the Stilfontein gold mine, which is part of the Buffelsfontein Gold Company, which is owned by a Chinese company, is not an ownerless and derelict mine. It is owned by an existing company, and that company must take responsibility. The state intervened to facilitate the rescue operation as an interim measure, but that owner must take the ultimate responsibility for that disaster, not the state. I'm sure that deals with Vavi's concern. And sometimes, you see, one time Yunus came to us and said, the state must send people underground. And I said, but unions have members. If they think that is safe to send people underground, they must send members there. Then we'll appreciate that it is safe to send people underground. Because people go there, those are disused mines, and you go there and you think that the state must come in and take the risk from the private capital because it is easy money, that of the taxpayer. The state should never be put in that position. That's my view. The question of supply of jet fuel, what will be done? We're discussing in this sector. You want to take that answer, Tisha? We discussed that issue. Petro SA has not folded its arms. It is intervening to supply jet fuel in the interim to actually ensure that there is no collapse of jet fuel supply. But all I'm highlighting is that if, for example, it is not allowed to do business normally and supply jet fuel in major airports, it should not be expected to supply jet fuel when there is a crisis. It is given space to do business in small airports, 2 of them, East London and George. And there's no shortage of jet fuel there. Now it must redirect some of that fuel to inland major airports that are supplied by somebody else because there's an accident in Napref. It should not work that way. We should actually have equity in our approach in the various sectors. The NGO bullying the government, no. I have a view that I raised that on this one. I said NGOs must be registered. They must declare their source of funding. And they will be regulated like any other entity in the country. Political parties do so. We declare source of funding. We are registered. We are known. NGOs must be allowed. We cannot allow that foreign NGOs must block development in whatever disguise. They must, we're not fighting NGOs, but NGOs must do what they should do. But they can't start development. For example, let me give you an example. NGOs say we must not touch gas, we must not touch coal, petrol, we must not touch coal. But in every other country, those commodities are doing business as normal. And therefore we are bullied in that way. And it requires us to tighten the law and say those NGOs must be registered and they must declare their source of funding. Amendment of the legislation, we will deal with that. Yeah, yes, one way must.
Thank you, Minister. I think the question from the SABC regarding the legislation, indeed, there has been a process which has been ensuing in terms of the review of the Mine Health and Safety Act. It went through consultation processes and it went through cabinet. It's currently in Parliament. And what will happen then? There'll be a consultation process with the public, and thereafter, then the final product will be. There'll be recommendations, and then we move forward in that. But at a high level, yes, the objective really of the bill was to strengthen enforcement and also strengthen the issue of accountability. Because we've seen some of the accidents really, we believe that they could have been prevented if, let's say, there's been accountability. And also another objective is to ensure alignment with the other legislation, including the MPRD. On artisanal mining legislation, yes, there is a policy in place, and the department is implementing that policy. There are programs that are being run, including the training programs that are also being done through MinTech as well to assist. I must also highlight this really on legitimate mining. I think the approach is to ensure that there's legitimate mining. So there are training programs that are in place. But with the small-scale miners as well, there is the MPRDA. My colleagues from the compliance section, they go around to the various provinces, and they do workshops to assist people in the process that needs to be followed in terms of application, so that it should be made easier for the mining license. I think those were the two outstanding questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. With the first round of responses and Mr. Msiza, we're going to give an opportunity to the journalists who are on the right. If you can please raise your hand and state where you come from, the media house, and your name, and then fire on. I have one question so far. You can ask a question, sir.
Good day, Dan Parker from Mineral Weekly. I found it interesting, the statistic about the majority of accidents taking place between 10 and 12. And there wasn't very clear, I don't know if you know the reason why that's happening. Maybe you could just expand on that a bit for us. Why do you think those accidents are happening at that time? Has it got to do with tiredness at the end of shifts? Has it got to do with it's around lunchtime? I don't know. Maybe you could just clarify that. I just thought that was very interesting. Thanks.
All right. I see there's a follow-up question from Katlego. You also have a question. Are there any further questions? Batabile, please, if you have any questions there from our online colleagues, just indicate, but we will start with the questions on the floor. Over to you, Katlego, and then you can come in.
Mine is also on issues around safety within the mining industry, just revisiting the case of Lily Mine. Just give us a sense and update of where are we, where that case is concerned. The family is still looking for answers. Their loved ones are still underground. So we have a sense of where our resource efforts are just around the rescue mission, and monies are being channeled towards it. The rescue mission is still 14, and that was an issue around illegal mining. These are miners that were mining legally, and they still have not been found. Where are we, where that is concerned? Are we going to see the greater efforts similar to what we saw with this rescue operation, just now moving into Lily Mine to try to find the 3 miners that are still missing?
Okay, thank you.
From the inside once again. To the Minister, with regards to illegal mining, there seems to be a well-organized, well-resourced, and a well-protected syndicate within the illegal mining sector. And something has been happening for a long time. Has your department been in talks or form a certain partnership, maybe with state security, to find out where do these people come from, where does the market come from, the black market, and who actually funds them? Has there been some form of help from our state security? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, Minister.
Is that all?
Yes.
Like I tend to work on it's too technical. Nadam says I will deal with the 10 to 12 prevalence of accidents. When I was a worker, I would have a suggestion for that. I would say, if the accidents are between 10 and 12, they must have a break between 10 and 12. That is a simplistic solution. It's a worker approach. That's what I would suggest. We die between 10 and 12, then there must be a break between 10 and 12. But Nadam says I will give a more technical answer to that question. Lily Mine. Again, the question is asked and it is referring to illegal mining. Some magistrate in Nelspruit referred to illegal mining, and there is no evidence of illegal mining there. That mine was operated by Vantage. It's not an illegal mine. Vantage is an Australian company. It's established, a good gold mining company that is operating internationally. To relegate that accident to illegal mining is actually a shortcut, and I would regard it as opportunistic to me. But what we have done, again, because we said that accident was by an operational company, that company must retrieve those bodies. We are now in agreement. We've given them Section 11 again to go and start an incline shaft that will go to those bodies and retrieve them. And that work has started. We're hoping that we'll retrieve them not after a very long time. So work is being done in that regard. Protected syndicates, I don't know protection, I must say. The reason that illegal mining is handled by the police is because it is a criminal activity. Therefore, the security cluster is dealing with it. And that security cluster includes state security. And therefore, it is that cluster that must do the investigation of tracing where that gold goes and trace the root of that gold. But all I'm saying is that in South Africa, from where we're seated, it is a very serious offensive on the economy, because if you have a leakage of 60 billion rand from the economy, it's quite serious, and it doesn't make mining companies comfortable. I can tell you that mining companies would not be happy with this. If we can defeat this, actually it will save the economy a great deal of trouble, and we must do that. And therefore, as I say, the security cluster of government is dealing with illegal mining. They're doing the investigation. They will come with the results, because we must be able to trace where that gold end up at. It is not the foot soldier who is very dangerous. It is the syndicate that is behind those foot soldiers that should be broken. If we don't break it, we must know that we'll live with this problem quite a long time. Thank you very much. 10 to 12.
No, thank you. I think it's a great question that you've asked in terms of clarity on the timing. I think the main reason is that there's a cycle in mining. It differs on hard rock mines, it differs on open cast mines, it differs on coal mines. So mines generally are 24-hour operation. So with the hard rock mines, mainly the gold and platinum mines, most of the work, I'm talking about the production work happens during the day. Later and during the day, that's when most of the workforce are, let's say, at the workplace. And later on, there's activities in terms of processing and cleaning underground, right? So let me focus on that. Some of the reasons that have been highlighted is the fact that because of that cycle, most of those mine workers, they have an early shift. In other words, some of them have to wake up very early to go underground. And there's an element of fatigue. There's also an element of diet as well, because some of them probably don't have enough time to eat, and it affects their concentration. With the coal mines and probably also the open cast coal mines, it's a 24-hour cycle. So they are running 3 shifts mainly, and they're producing as well. So there's an element of fatigue that affects the timing. But we came up with a fatigue management guideline to ensure that we help the sector to deal with it. But we are also still worried that that profile that we've shown is still there. So what we are going to do, we're going to take this matter to the Mine Health and Safety Council, and collectively then we look at what more can we do by appreciating and understanding the further root causes that we might have not focused on better. I think that's what we will do. So I hope it has helped that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you with those clarifications. Before I invite our online colleagues, I did indicate that we have our partners, leadership from business and leadership from labor. If they do want to provide us with some divergent views, I would like to check if this is their opportunity, if they want to say a word or two. Over to you. Okay. If you can, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Organizer, and I'd also like to recognize our Minister, our Deputy Minister, our DG, and our Chief Inspector. Also like to recognize organized labor, our partners in the business, and the media. My name is Paul Dunn, and I am the caretaker president of the Minerals Council. I would like to say a word of support, actually, not disagreement, a word of support to the presentation that has been made by the Chief Inspector and indicate why we believe that there has been success in the mining industry on almost all these metrics over time. The way it's been achieved, the primary reason for the achievement, in particular in recent times, has been the tripartite approach to health and safety. The government, organized labor, and of course business, working together, but not just in Pretoria. It's the way that the tripartite works on the ground, at the face, as we call it. The relationships are no longer antagonistic and hard-headed. There's a lot more genuine communication between the tripartite, and we can see clear success in these metrics. It is very important, we believe, and I do believe the public also believes this, that it's very important for the mining industry in South Africa to succeed. We are a very important part of the economy. We're a primary industry. We're a very large employer. As the Chief Inspector has pointed out, 480,000 employees. Those employees have decent work, as Kusatu would say it, historically. These are well-paid jobs. Each of those employees supports, generalizing a little bit, a large extended family. The wealth that is created by the mining industry has a very strong multiplier effect into the economy. We earn a lot of foreign exchange. So it is important that the mining industry succeeds for all of South Africa. And I believe we are succeeding, and I support what the Chief Inspector and the Minister has said today. The CEOs of the mining companies will continue to drive zero harm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. From the business perspective, can we now hear from Labour?
Thank you and good afternoon, comrades and colleagues. My name is Putuma Manyati from AMCO, Minister, Deputy Minister, and all dignitaries. The question of working hours, I think we are better placed as workers to come up with a proposal, because we are the ones that are working. I've observed in Joburg, if you go to OR Tambo, there's a bottleneck at Gululus. There are two ways of beating the traffic. Either you go there early or you go after the traffic has subsided. Now we have a similar bottleneck there. We are proposing, because everyone is here, all the stakeholders are here, that we adopt, that we have a break between 10 and 12. That is a very progressive proposal, and there's no one who's better placed to support that proposal than all of us here, because it's very progressive, and it's in the interest of zero harm. I know I heard the chief inspector to say we'll take it somewhere. No, let's not take it somewhere because everybody's here. Let's all adopt it. Then we know that at least we have resolved one of the problems that we have, the issue of the 10 to 12. Now we know where the problem is. They tried to do something about the Kululus. There's a flying over there. The fly saucer interchange is still not working. And they we have found a solution of being early or late. But I can tell you now, if we can have that break, because it's all about the shift patterns. Now, the other challenge that we have, the issue of contractors. You have mentioned there's about 40-something% is contractors. We have seen the fragmentation of big mines. Now you can see that there's a challenge there. As organized labor, we can tell you now those areas are very difficult to organize because of the nature of the commercial contract. If they are given 1 year to operate, even if you organize now, next year they'll be working for somebody else. And these are some of the issues that we need to look at. But we have not dealt with the proposals that we came up with at the summit. Remember, we analyzed the calendar of South Africa. We said most of the holidays are congested in the first half of the year. You have the 21st of March, you have got April there, the Easter and everything, and the 16th of June, everyone, Workers' Day, all the holidays are there. But there are very few holidays on the second part of the year. And we are calling for a holidays if we're talking fatigue management. It's not me. You come out with fatigue management. How do you manage fatigue if you don't create a worker holiday there? If you don't have a date, we are giving you the 16th of August. And we have already provided, because that issue of the silly season will always be there. There will be fatigue management unless if we configure, we look seriously into the calendar to say, well, whoever designed the calendar, most of the holidays are early and there's nothing there. You can do nothing about the 24th of August is already late. Let's find the holidays. If we can have enough rest, I can tell you now, we'll perform better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manyati, to hear from the Labour's perspective. Do we have any questions from our online colleagues? Do I hear no, Batabile? Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for your time. Is there a question? Okay. Sorry? Oh. Oh, I thought he was representing everyone from Labour. Okay.
No.
Greetings to the Minister, the DM, the DG, the Chief Inspector, and the Chair of the session. We're trying very hard not to do the things the way we do it ordinarily, that will come and give the message of support. But for this instance, we'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. Maybe it's 10 to 12. On that. On the serious note, let's also extend greetings to all the leadership of the organized labor, business, Mineral and Safety Council, as well as the media that is here. I think indeed, in this, more especially this particular financial year, we must agree, as NUM and the Federation COSAT, of course, that the strides that we have made are through the collaboration that we're always encouraging. And indeed, I think we must say upfront that there are a number of reduction or improvements of what has happened. I think most importantly, I think what one wants to point out is the issue of the coal sector. Specifically, if you look at the coal sector, as the presentation that we have seen, from 11 to 4 is an improvement that we should not just overlook such improvement. Though in the same midst, I think it's important as well to also register that maybe on the tripartite level, we should be able to come up with the concrete programs on how to deal with the regrets that we've made. The first one is the rockfall in the coal sector. Secondly, on the platinum as well, we need to go back because it was doing well all this time and so on and so forth. But I think another issue that we want to touch on is the issue of the Valam Code. We are agreeing with the minister. You cannot be expected to close even the mines that emanates from the previous regime with the budget that we are having. Equally, as we speak now, we don't even have adequate inspectors. But with the little that is there, we are able to look, we are reducing. Fatalities have been reduced. We can even go and check occupational injuries are reducing as well. That alone, it indicates that we're doing something right, and we need to continue with this tripartism that we're continuing with. It's reaping rewards. And maybe before I sit down, next time what we're going to do, we're not supporting the issue of relaxing between 10 and 12 o'clock. Our serious maybe contribution will be that let's go and sit down on the tripartite level. Because it is during the day, we should not be having such incidents. Because all the layers of leadership are there at the workplace. So we need to go and check what is that we can come up with. Thank you very much. 10 to 12.
Thank you very much, and thanks for that. I believe we have come to the end. What? Do we have a question? Oh, okay. All right. My colleagues have just reminded me, 10 to 12 is dealing with me seriously today. My colleagues have just reminded me that for the members of the media, we have prepared some refreshment on the first floor. And she will lead you, and solely they will lead you to where we have prepared for the media. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day further. Thank you. Everyone can Thank you. No, but for the but I think nobody wants to don't mix it, because they go out there. They don't want to. Yeah.